Good evening. We're back with another edition of News Night. Today, a big story that the opposition came up with in the middle of a narrative that has completely surrounded around nationalism and the fact that this Prime Minister says his foreign policy, a muscular one, got results. The surgical strikes, both after Uri and in Balakot, were centered around one plain narrative that the Prime Minister ordered the troops to go and ghar mein ghus ke mara. Now, the Congress party today, not just its spokesperson Rajiv Shukla, but also former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, in an interview said that there were surgical strikes that crossed the LOC and penetrated on the other side of the border. Today, the Congress also claimed there were 2 such surgical strikes in the Vajpayee era and 6 such surgical strikes in the UPA era combined, 1 and 2. This was dismissed by the BJP as a fraudulent claim, with Arun Jaitley doing the batting for the BJP. But if this is true, and no commanders really have come forth and said that this was not true, then it becomes a topic of discussion, and whether or not it has enough power to take the sting out of the narrative of the big muscular foreign policy Prime Minister who actually did what no other government could have done. Well, we'll try and discuss that in the rest of the show. This is what the Congress party came up with today.
एयर स्ट्राइक की उस समय जरूरत नहीं पड़ी ना, हमने इतनी सख्ती कर रखी थी 2014 तक कि हर चीज पे हम सबक उनको दिखाते थे। हम ये थोड़ा कि संसद पे हमला हो गया और अब बैठे रहे हाथ पे हाथ रख के। हमने तो उसके बाद लगातार आतंकवादियों को पकड़ा, और जो सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक, वो एयर स्ट्राइक नहीं, सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक की बात। सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक सरकारों में कई बार हुई है, पहले भी और होती रही है। ये पहली बार हुआ कि सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक आर्मी करती है, ये देश को राजनीतिक फायदा लेने के लिए बताया गया।
The BJP almost immediately reacted, and this is what still sitting Minister Rajivardhan Rathore had to say about it. This after, of course, the line was cleared by Arun Jaitley in an earlier press conference. Take a look.
अपने पास रखें इन सब सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक्स को। जो है फौज में तो हम थे ना, हमें बताया ना क्या हुआ है क्या नहीं हुआ। सारी सेना आज भारतीय जनता पार्टी मोदी जी के साथ खड़ी है, ऐसे ही नहीं खड़ी हुई। हम जानते हैं वहाँ क्या होता था।
Surgical strikes across the LOC and inside Pakistan have been done in India after several decades, for the first time in this government under Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. The Air Force was willing to and prepared to do an air strike deep inside Pakistan in 2008 after the Mumbai terror attacks. Across the LOC they wanted to do it, but a permission was denied to them by the then government under Dr. Manmohan Singh. So no amount of lies will help the Congress party. They will only expose themselves by making such farcical and fraudulent claims.
All right, so big Congress claim and fraudulent charge and fraudulent claim, says the BJP. Where exactly lies the truth? Shekhar Iyer joins us tonight on News Night. He's a political analyst and a senior journalist. Also Chaitanya Singh, another political analyst. And also with us on the program is Shana NC, spokesperson and leader of the BJP. Thank you all for being with us. Shekhar, let me start with you. Nobody really, it's not the first time the Congress has claimed this. Remember, it's just the first time former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh has said so much, or said as much, that we had surgical strikes. Nobody really has denied the fact that there were actions on the LOC even before the Modi government came to power. But do you think really that late in the game, Congress party coming out and saying that, look, we'll give you the details of where exactly did we cross the LOC and hurt Pakistan? We've been speaking, Shekhar, to veterans as well, who have not denied that such actions took place. But what they do claim is that that was part of a strategic move. This was more tactical, and by this I mean the post-Uri surgical strike as well as the Balakot air strikes. This was more tactical. There were actions in the past. Whether or not you want to call them a surgical strike across borders or the LOC is a different opinion. But do you think the Congress now and the former Prime Minister clarifying and confirming that such action took place comes a little late in the game as far as narratives go, Shekhar?
Yeah, I think it's rather not just too late, very, very late. After all, the first surgical strike took place in 2016, soon after the attack on Uri, the army base. Now, I do not see what is the strategy behind the Congress, particularly fielding the former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh in the midst of these elections. Already 4 phases are over after such a long silence. Now today the Congress feels the pressure or the need to say that, we did it. Of course, they did say between, but it has been said by many army veterans.
Well, Rahul Gandhi has claimed this in the past as well, and then the official line, of course, if you go by the official line, Shekhar, and I want to get Chaitanya into this as well, is that we did not want to score political points, and that is why we don't...
But I think that the scale of what we saw, the post-Uri strike,
Right.
and which was a very preemptive, as you also mentioned, it was tactical, it was high on deterrence, and it was deep inside kind of operation. And this is not something disputed by even the army people, because if it was a fake one or something which was not, which was in terms of severity, I do not think these things can be just. I mean,
also,
once the Congress must
I have to be honest with our viewers. Times Now has been speaking to a lot of veterans as well. I was privy to one such conversation, of course, and what we got for gleaned from that conversation, Chaitanya, was the one distinction the veterans also made, who were in fact part of those earlier actions as well, as mentioned by the Congress Party, was that one, those were strategic operations. Most of the times, 9 times out of 10, and this is just a reference point, they hit Pakistani military targets, not terror camps or terror outbases. That was one distinction that came in. And 2, the severity, as Shekhar mentioned, of the damage that these airstrikes in Balakot or the surgical strikes post-Uri did. Also, what they hammered on, Chaitanya, and this is what I want your comment on, is that the decision to go into Pakistani territory was taken at the highest level this time around, something that was missing last time around.
I'll explain and answer each question that you have raised. There is a very big issue that stares the government of the day in its face. The issue is that this government has no achievements to showcase, nothing that they have achieved on ground, all the promises that they have made. That is the reason, shamelessly, this government is trying to attribute the strength, the achievements of the Indian Army, of our armed forces, to build its political capital. Now, whether or not this surgical strike or the previous surgical strike were of the same intensity or not, nobody can comment on that. This is an internal operation of the army, and it would be better that it is left like that. The only issue is here today that Congress party or any other government in the past, I'm not a Congress spokesperson or any spokesperson of any party, all previous governments have done such things. For that matter, the Congress in fact put on record today that even Atal Bihari Vajpayee government had done something like that in the past.
Yes, twice. But
So,
are
yes,
you
twice.
suggesting this
Exactly.
was... Are you suggesting that as the Congress does officially, even though you're not part of the Congress party officially,
Yes.
the Congress claims that we did not want to take political credit for it, and that's how we operated. This is for the first time, Shaina,
Maybe,
says
yes,
the Congress party.
yes.
No, 1 second. Says the Congress party, Shaina, that a government did such an action and then marketed it. Perhaps I'm using a harsher term for their own
Yes.
political gains. This is the
Athar,
Congress's
let me tell
charge.
you,
I want
on the way
Shaina to
the
respond to this
studio,
first.
I would like to
I'll come back to you, Shaina.
Okay.
Shaina.
Athar, I think that when you have an attack where you have our armed forces or civilians who lose life, obviously there are going to be lots of questions that arise which the citizens want answers for. Now, this is not some weak government. This is not a government that needs to create count brownie points on an attack as well. Do understand that in the past it could be the ambush in Myanmar, it could be another surgical strike, or it could be this particular attack, where we have shown that there is a political will and a strong leadership to take on any kind of terrorists or terror outfits trying to manipulate or trying to destabilize India. Now, I don't understand what this great hue and cry is and why the opposition is constantly crying hoarse when, if the armed forces themselves want to come into the public domain to disclose what actually transpired, If there is a question
but
mark
China,
which
the
is
question
being
is slightly
raised,
different.
all
Now,
along,
I'll try and rephrase
that
it for you,
clarity
China.
needs-
The criticism coming in was that the entire narrative around the surgical strikes, in fact, the Prime Minister spoke about it, that never ever in the past had any government did what his government did. Now, in terms of pure operations, there were operations against the Pakistanis in terms of a surgical strike, call it a surgical strike or a cross-border LOC action, whatever you want to call it. I'm not a defense expert. The idea here the Congress is trying to project is that these actions happened before as well. We just never marketed it because we didn't want the details out there. This is sensitive stuff not to be used for political gain. This is the crux of the argument.
Athar, I would
Hold
like
on,
to
let
comment
China
here.
respond.
So my reply to them is whether they choose to check with war veterans, whether they want to check whether the photographs are fake or true, they are the ones who are raising the questions, and that's why we need to give rebuttals and answers. There may have been surgical strikes right from 2004 until 2019, some of which have not been questioned, some of which have not been in the public domain. But if you're going to raise an allegation and say, oh, was this a sophisticated airstrike, was this authentic, was this not, did it actually happen, then obviously there will be a reply, and that reply is coming from the armed forces. So please don't make this into a political one-upmanship.
Okay,
make
fair
this
enough.
into unsubstantiated allegations being raised by the opposition which warrant a reply.
Okay, Chaitanya, I mean, the question that comes to mind after China, the spokesperson of the BJP has spoken is clearly that, look, when you question the Balakot airstrike and you try to make an issue and say the Prime Minister is doing marketing, but in fact what you're trying to do is trying to lower down the morale of the troops who actually carried out the strike, etc., then why, in fact, if you believe in not taking credit for the successes of the armed forces, in this case even in the UP era and the Vajpayee era, then why say it now, so late in the game? Is this election related? Arun Jaitley dismissed it as fraudulent claims, fraudulent charges.
Look, if at all these claims are fraudulent or of whatever nature, and how this, how the Congress party decided to put this into public domain now, I'm not the right person to answer that. But I would like to put something on record that it would be completely inappropriate, and I'm in public domain saying this today, that it is wrong of any party to question any claim of our armed forces. The only thing that the opposition parties are questioning today, the whole narrative of the Modi re-election which he's seeking, is what? His ad, while I was way on the studio here, his ad says कि घर में घुस के मारेंगे फिर लाओ मोदी सरकार अब की बार मोदी सरकार. It is he who is politicizing this, and it is he who is using this to his political advantage. The Congress party, or any party for that matter, in fact the BJP also under
the Congress
Advani
party has been forced to respond this late in the game. If it wasn't an issue, if the Congress was fighting on other issues, you should have been confident.
I'll tell you something.
The confidence is obviously not there, hence you're
according to my knowledge, whenever the question has been put of such nature to any of the leaders of any government in the past, they may have acknowledged it, they may have denied it.
Okay.
According to my knowledge, the Congress acknowledged it.
Quick check-in with Shekhar on this.
I did not know
second.
today what happened.
I get it.
Yes.
Quick check-in with Shekhar on this. Shekhar, does it really mean anything politically? As I think you've clarified that this is far too late in the game now. But does that somehow dent somewhere, as Chaitanya was mentioning, that Ghar mein ghus ke mara was a central theme, is a central theme of the Modi re-election team.
Yes.
But if this has happened before and we've crossed the LOC, it doesn't really matter if you've crossed 3 kilometers or 30 kilometers. We've got into Pakistan, or at least Pakistan controlled territory, and we've done this before. Then does that dent the Ghar mein ghus ke mara angle or narrative or whatever you want to call it?
I don't think so, Athar. See, the problem today, the Congress, whatever Congress is, nobody is going to believe it. Because you saw soon after the Uri strike after Balakot also, you had such distinguished army veterans like Air Force Marshal, Air Marshal Fali Major saying that after 26/11, Indian Air Force was ready to carry out punitive strikes on Pakistan. But they were not allowed. Now you have this kind of thing. So therefore, there could have been military operations. But to claim that they were on par with what has happened, I don't think it serves even the Congress purpose. See, after all, talking of political advantage, now tell me, after 1971 Bangladesh war, who took the political advantage when Bangladesh was created?
Okay.
or was it liberated?
It was
We all
Indira
know about
Gandhi,
that.
clearly.
See, for
Atal Bihari
failures, no,
Vajpayee
one
on
point.
the floor of
No,
the
when
house
there is a
had said
failure, like
that
for
this
instance, the failure of
Indira nahi hai, Durga ka roop hai. Atal Bihari
No, one
Vajpayee
point,
had
you
said,
see,
he was a
when
BJP leader.
No, one point.
One of the
you see,
founders of the
political
party.
leadership.
Okay, let it finish. We'll take a break after that. We'll come back to rebuttals after the break. Shekhar, please finish your point. I have to take a break after. All right. Okay, we'll take a break right now. When we come back, we have some more questions for our guests. Please stay with Newsnight. We'll be right back. We are back with Newsnight. Shekhar, I hope you can hear me right now. Before the break, I wanted you to finish the point. Please do that now before I get more questions.
What I said was, you see, whenever there is a major military operation, you know, the kudos always brickbats comes to the political leadership of the government that is of the day. Just as Bangladesh war was credited to Indira Gandhi's dynamism and the way she approached the problem, and in the face of, you know, virtual, several countries ganged up against India, excepting for Russia, which was with us. Now, similarly, you had the IPKF operation in Sri Lanka, which was rather finally turned out to be a heavy loss in terms of Indian army lives. And that was also, you know, the Rajiv Gandhi government had to take the flak. So similarly, I think in the case of this also, see, if it gets botched up, everybody wants to blame the government of the day. So if it has gone down well and it has achieved its purpose, definitely the government of the day credits. It doesn't matter who is in power. I mean, I don't see what does Congress gain out of this.
I also want to play out those graphics. The Congress, remember, has given the timeline really and the exact details of where these strikes or where these actions, I don't know the exact lexicon I should be using for this, but where these strikes were in fact taken out. I wonder if you could just put that graphic again on the screen right now. We'll read through those, and then I want to ask Shaina, if this is so detailed, the Congress party could have used it immediately after the first surgical strike post Uri came up. See, this 19 June 2008 Bhattal sector Punch. It's a heavy area. There's action there almost every other week. 30th August to the 1st of September 2011, the UPA was in power. Sharda sector, this is what the Congress said. The third surgical strike they spoke about was 6th January 2013, Savan Patra check post. This is the third claim they're making. 28 July 2013, the UPA was still in power. Naza Peer sector, says the Congress, that our troops crossed the LOC. Neelam Valley, 2013, 6th August, is another action the Congress speaks about. So these, of course, are very detailed sort of timelines, Shaina, and this leaves you in very little doubt that the Indian Army did, in fact, give a befitting reply to our enemies across the border, whether they were Pakistani army checkposts or whether they were holding posts or whether they were terror infrastructures, I guess would be the secondary question. So if the government of the day has done it before, why then does the Prime Minister and this government try and make it sound like that for the past 70 years no such action has ever happened and every country stares us down, Pakistan pinches us, we can't do anything, when we have in fact inflicted costs on Pakistan before? Why say that in the first place, Shaina?
So, Athar, firstly, we are not for 1 minute dismissing or disrespecting the work done by our armed forces. Forget from 2004 up until now, even prior to that. They are a competent, absolutely, the entire country respects the armed forces and the way they have functioned, irrespective of any political interference. But we never questioned the then Congress government that, oh, was this surgical strike for real?
Because they never made it public, Shaina. They never made it public. This government did make it public. They never made it public.
Look, let me finish my point.
Sure.
Let me finish my point. The point is that the opposition then, that was us, has never questioned the veracity or the authenticity of any airstrike. Here they have not only questioned the attack post Balakot and Pulwama, they have also suggested that this is a manufactured figment of imagination. That's where the disrespect to our armed forces, where the armed forces have spoken up and said that we have conducted it in this manner and the facts are in the public domain. I think that you need to view this from the other side as well. It's all very well to say that, oh, the opposition is questioning you, but if they're questioning you and questioning the authenticity of the armed forces and the respect and the morale of the armed forces, if they're questioning, there's going to be a rebuttal, there is going to be a reply. So I don't think we can mix this up with any kind of a political one-upmanship, but we can clearly say that at a time when India needs to be safe and secure under strong leadership,
I take your point, but that still doesn't answer the question about. One second.
There have been 8 Naxal attacks.
One second.
Chaitanya.
Allow me, Chaitanya. I'm coming to that. Well, I take China's last answer in all humility, but China, that still doesn't answer the question. You would have questioned, you as an opposition would have questioned something when they had in fact put it in the public domain. Their entire logic is that we knew this was required on the ground. We did it. Our armed forces did it. We crossed over. We hit the Pakistanis where it hurt the most, but we never tried to seek political capital out of it. If they had, perhaps the opposition then, which was you, would have questioned them.
Obviously would have questioned. BJP never let the parliament function. You think they would have let
her answer. I'll come to you, Chaitanya, after this. Very quickly, Shaina.
Look, we are open to any kind of discussion and debate. We are open to any kind of scrutiny because there has been no question of any wrong intent, as they say in Hindi, koi niti niyat mein khot nahi.
Okay.
As far as the morale of the armed forces are concerned, I think that this needed to be out in the public domain for the people of this country to know the truth and for terrorists alike to realize that they cannot and they dare mess with India.
Chaitanya,
and here
fair
on
point.
there
That's
is
a fair
strong
point.
leadership that will give befitting
if the government
answers,
of the day
as
decides
has
that
done
it's
in the
better that the public know about what exactly did India do after it got attacked, then the BJP did it and there's nothing wrong with it. If anything, the UPA should have thought of it earlier.
No, that is fine. Yes, the UPA should have thought of this because maybe UPA had a lot of other achievements to showcase which this government does not have. So that is why they chose not to publicize it, and they are choosing to publicize it because the only narrative around which this election is happening today is national security. On that front also this government is failing. Pulwama was an intelligence failure, nobody can deny that. While this government is giving intelligence input to Sri Lanka about bombings, it is not acting upon its own intelligence inputs. 8 Naxal attacks have happened in the last 30 days alone. What has this government done? Who will take the responsibility of those attacks? We will obviously blame the government, the state government, the national government.
I'm short on time here. It's been a very informative debate. Thank you, Shaina NC, for joining us. Thank you, Shekhar Iyer, for your inputs, as well as Chaitanya Singh, who joined us here on Newsnight. This has been Newsnight. We'll come back with another edition tomorrow. I've been Athar Khan. Thank you for watching.